Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for bearing with the construction here at the Joslin Center. We had a fair amount of RSVPs, and I think people are probably going to trickle in a little bit because of the roadblock. But all that is to say, we're especially excited about our guest today, Daniel Fuchs. His company, Multigen, is incredible, and it helps you age in place so that folks from different generations in a family can live under one roof safely. So he's going to talk a little bit about the benefits of multi-generational living and how to make your home safer. He is also the head of an incredible organization called Age Tech LA. So if you have any questions about how to leverage technology to make the aging and senior space as good as possible, I highly encourage you to get in touch with Daniel. So with that, we welcome Daniel.
Hello, everybody. So before, do we have anybody in the Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, so it's important that I'll stand here.
About like 8-ish people.
Oh, okay, perfect. Hi, everybody in the Zoom. I don't see you, but you see me, so it's great. And now I have to stand here because I usually walk around, but I'll do my best. So before I'm gonna share with you some tips about how, being safe at your home, I will share my own personal story of how I got here and how did I learn so much about that subject of home safety and multi-generational living. So several years ago, I was actually lived in the other part of the state. I was in the East Coast. I got a business opportunity and I was offered to relocate the family. During the process of the relocation, all our belongings were stolen. Without getting into the details, just imagine kind of the shot of it. The family moves into a new house, but there's just nothing in the house. Very, very sad, but not as sad as the next phone call that I got from my mom. She told me that she no longer can take care of my dad, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer several years prior to that. And of course, as you can imagine, the caregiver is in so much stress and so much hard process, probably as much as the person that have the condition. So without judging her, I asked her for 24 hours before she pulling the trigger on that. And I went back to my wife, and remember, all our belongings were stolen, so the house was very empty, and it was a perfect scene to come and say, hey, isn't that big house and very, very empty? And the answer was like, yeah. And I'm okay, that's the phone call that I got. And I think, feel, and I hope you're gonna feel the same, that I need to save my parents. They're alone. My mom is struggling. My dad is in a very bad condition, was moving to stage 6 Alzheimer. And what do you think? Maybe we should bring them here. We'll build something for them. Will be a full separation, but they're gonna have a space and we're gonna be close by and we're gonna do the right thing. And she was extremely happy about it and encouraged about that. And we made the move. Called my mom like, Mom, you're gonna move with us. Firstly, my mom said, let me think about it. And I'm like, what there is to think about it? It's amazing. You're gonna come, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have one big family. And of course, she had her doubts and her fears. And I did not think so, but hey, I was able to convince her. So we started this process. I had to bring her from, not from the US, but I literally had to go transatlantic flight and pick my parents. And 2 days before I've done that, the house got on fire. So the entire house, their beautiful unit, everything was just destroyed, including the 6 months of us accumulating something, from past time that we lost everything. And there I am, 2 days before, what do? And the decision was made to continue with our plans. So I flew there, I picked them up, we landed here, we slept in hotels, but then eventually we came into rentals. So the cards just shuffled. There was no longer separation. Now it's myself, my little family, my parents, my sick dad, and all that experience going on. So now it's no longer separation, now it's inclusion, now we all together, and I take care of that. From being an executive in a big company, I dedicated myself to become a full-time caregiver to my father, because at that moment, there was no other choice. I had to step up, I had to be there. And then I saw what does it mean to get old. I saw what it means to be a stage 6 Alzheimer individual. I also understood how beneficial it is to be next to him in those tough moments. So that's the first part of the presentation, and that is the home safety, because I realized how limited he was in walking, how limited he was in talking, how limited everything around the house was, and how many times he was about to fall. Thankfully, I can say he never did, because we did everything possible to protect him. So I went and I learned how to secure houses, how to pretty much not just saying, okay, I'm just gonna put a grab bar and he's gonna be fine, but truly understand how everything starts from the place he goes into the house to how he moves in the house, and learn each one of those pieces. For my multi-generational story, I'll come back later. So I want to start with some very, very loom and gloom data. And usually I prefer not to share it, but I think that we definitely need to. Okay, so first, 77% of the people want to age in place. They want to stay at home, they don't want to go anywhere, they want to be next to their doctor, they want to be next to their grocery store, they want to be next to their neighborhood, they just don't like that part. 90% of the homes in the United States require some level of modification. Most of the houses were built before 2010, and none of the houses from 2010, it's obviously the older the houses, the more or the less secure the houses. So 80% of the houses need to have modification, and that's the sad thing that many people don't understand, that 30% of women, and I believe actually 35% of men, that will fall, will not survive 1 year after the fall. So it starts with a friction of the hip, but later on it gets to other complications, and something as simple as I just fell, just changing your life in 180 degrees. And that is very important to remember that 1 out of 4 adults in the United States fall and have a serious injury as a result. Actually, falls are causing 95% of hip fractures for older adults, and falls are leading cause to injuries that are related to death. So it is hard to understand it and it's hard to digest it, but the very simple part of just falling is extremely determinant for the quality of your life and how you actually going to continue in the next years of your life that can be really, really wonderful. So just to touch on few places that we all need to look at. The first place is the bathroom. That is where most of fall happen. That's where the floor is very slippery. That's where sometimes there is, lack of grab bars and poor lighting. And remember, when we say poor lighting, what you were able to see 20 years ago is not what you can see today. Same with the hearing, but it's also same with the way we see things, just not the same quality. And that result in falls. Bedroom and living room, the furniture heights, some of the beds are positioned extremely high. You literally can cause yourself a big damage falling from them. The flooring, the clutter, and again, the repetitive things of poor lighting. And stairs, how steep they are, lack of railing. Some of the steps literally don't have railing. And having steps with no railing is a death hazard. Some of the steps are uneven, and again, a repetitive moding of poor lighting. So I'll double click and I will talk on each one of those things a little bit more profoundly. So 80% of the falls are happening in the bathroom. So the right way to handle those things is install grab bars in the shower and in the toilet. Handrails, as much as you can, create more handrails around. Handled shower, not just the head. What you all need to remember is that the moment that we're raising our head above that straight horizontal look, we're losing balance. So again, what is not so profound for a young person, a senior can easily lose his balance just by looking up. So it's true to your microwave, or it's true to everything that you have in your kitchen. Just make sure that nothing goes above your eye line. Non-sleep mats, LED bulbs, and motion-sensitive lighting, these are just small features that can be added without a severe and very expensive cost, but they can make a big difference. The bedroom, there's simple bed rails that you just shove under the mattress and you're making sure you don't fall. I think you can get them in Amazon for $20 or maybe $30, and to install them, you don't even need to be a specialist. It's bed rail. It looks like I think I have a picture, and then you just literally put it under the mattress, and then what stays out is like a
kid's when you do puzzle bed.
Totally. Circulation and egress, again, the moment that we go into any senior's house and we see rugs and carpets, we get rid of them. And I know for some it's very sensitive and for some it's not so much, but it's like the first thing. I literally did a home modification with a person that used to be the dean of School of Gerontology, somebody that live and breathe home safety. And we went through the house and I'm like, the carpets are still here, you got to do something about it. And it was heartbreaking. He could not agree to that. And he knows what it means. Maybe we can do something about it. I'm like, nope. And smart home, without getting into too many details of what's the technology out there, but there is a simple device called Alexa or Google Home, and these are little speakers that cost $30. You connect them in. If God forbid you fall, you can just scream, call my daughter, call my son, call whoever, and the phone call will be made. So this is really easy, not expensive way to keep yourself safe. And then I'm going to touch specifically on things on the bathroom, because I can talk on, and we will spend maybe an hour and a half of every safety feature. So I want to put the most important one and kind of explain the logic behind them. So grab bars in the shower, they help you with a balance. So it's not just about when you fall, it's the moments before you fall. The moment that you hold a grab bar, the moment that you even have two of them in the shower, it helps you to keep your balance and the support. It obviously reduces the risk of falls, and it's suitable for all age and abilities. So really, it's not something that signifies a senior shower. It is something that even in my own shower, and you can see I'm young and healthy, and I still have grab bars in my showers because it's the right thing to do. Now, there are different angles to put them. So usually the horizontal need to be in a place where you can hold it when you are next to the shower. The stuff that are vertical need to be when you want to sit up. So if you have some kind of a chair device or just a chair and you're taking a shower while you're sitting, you want to make sure that the grab bar is vertical. And sometimes we recommend to do it in a diagonal angle just to kind of win all the world. So these are a few things about the grab bar. We also want to make sure that it's not slippery. Sometimes people say, I just want to have that in the golden look to match my other appliances or other features. And that's okay, but we got to make sure that it can actually grab it properly. Yes.
You mentioned about the falling down the Alexa. I have Parkinson's, so I fall a lot, and my son's got an Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch if you fall, it will text people, and it will call you.
Absolutely.
And it's not like a life flow, it's like every month you have to pay like $7. This is what you buy it, you have it forever.
And the research show that those life alert people, they don't like it, they move it, and then they forget to put them back. The watch is with you, the Alexa is there, and we need to think about not how, if everything, and I remember to put everything, works. We need to remember that we usually forget, and that's just the solution. So sometimes we go to someone's house and there's just no place to put the grab bar, like not in this picture, but sometimes just a vanity. You're not gonna put a grab bar in a vanity. So there are solutions to stick it in a way to the wall or even to the floor. That's what you see here as the super pole. I talked about the shower head. Again, it seems to be very minor, but it's huge. You should not use just the header. You should definitely convert it to a shower head. It's not expensive to make this conversion, but it's extremely important, okay? Transfer bench. Of course, in a perfect world, we can modify the entire shower, take the bath, the tub, throw it out, modify the shower that you don't have to step in, but these things can be extremely expensive. When I'm saying extremely expensive, probably $20,000 would be the lowest side and more can be the highest side. So for that, they invented some type of a transfer bench. And it's an ideal way not to do all this modification. You sit down and you kind of slide yourself into the shower. As you can see, it has the opening below, so if you have a caregiver, it can wash you. It has a grab bar. Even the cushion like the chair can be more cushiony. You can add another handle to sit better. So again, relatively cost-effective. A bench like that can start from $500, but that's probably what you should get. You can find a good quality transfer bench for $500-600. Toilet seat riser, again, depends of how tall you are. If you're extremely short person, then it's not a problem. But if you're a tall person, then stepping up from the toilet might be a challenge. So toilet seat riser are a great solution. You can see they also have like those two grab bars next to each other. So that's just a great solution. Again, not the ideal in every situation, but something to look at. And lighting, the motion detector, extremely important in the middle of the night. And I know the last thing you want to do is to wake up and the light wakes you up, but it's the place where we're saying quality of sleep or fall. And by the way, if your quality of sleep is poor, you're probably prone to fall more, but that's where we're suggesting to put those simple devices in the electricity socket. It identifies your moves, it opens the light, you see the way, you see the light, and it's very, very elegant and life-saving. And lastly here, if you don't like the way the grab bars looks like, and you think that this is horrible and it doesn't work well with my style, there are ways to do it in a very stylish way. As you can see in all those pictures, it can be a very elegant chair, and it can be a very nice soap or something around, the water opener. But again, for every customer, for every person, there is a solution. So some red flags that I want to talk about. So the first thing is suction cups. I know that suction cups are being sold in millions. Why? Because if you go to Amazon and you write suction cup, you're going to see so many companies selling it and immediately deliver, and just shows you that so many people are actually using it. And please, I'm begging you, if this is what you currently have in your house, in your shower, don't use it. Here's the reason why. Number one, it fails. It fails. It's just a suction cup. With the water, if the surface is not perfectly even, what happens is that if you fall, guess what? If you have a suction cup, you don't even protect yourself. Imagine if you fall now and there is no grab bar. You immediately go to protect your body in a way. But if you trust a suction cup and you fall, then you don't even protect yourself. And the severe, or probably the most severe fall accidents are happening because of somebody thought and trusted a suction cup. So don't trust those. It's better to invest in a grab bar that is properly installed into your wall versus using a suction cup.
I use suction cups in the shower when I recovered from shoulder surgery, and it slipped down the thing when I needed it. Luckily, I was able to catch myself. It's one of those things where, okay, these things don't work.
No.
It's not
And remember,
I needed it, when I needed it, and it failed me.
and you are a strong gentleman, but if there is a senior in in her 90s or in his 90s, the bones are not the same. You know, if my kid falls, his bones are mush. If a senior fall, it breaks, and that's horrible. And thank you for giving that example, but that's just reinforcing what we're saying here. Don't trust that. Very, very dangerous. So other things to look at, if you currently have some kind of stairs, make sure they're not too stiff. And if they are too stiff, make sure that there is some kind of a handrail that you can touch and make sure that you don't fall. Sometimes handrails installed only on one side. It really recommended to have the handrails on both sides. Okay? Also, if you have a ramp or stairs, you literally want to kind of jump on them to see how solid they are versus wiggly. Because the fact that you have a ramp doesn't really protect you unless it's extremely, extremely strong. Okay? And again, look for water. Like sometimes where the washer and dryer are, the floor is super wet, or in the garage. If you see that, identify that, don't let it go, fix this problem, because that is a real falling hazard. And here's the biggest challenges that we as homodification professionals are facing. Because when I went into this business, I thought to myself, oh my God, 80% of the house are not ready. People are falling like crazy. That is the place to be. And the reality is that it's not. What's happening is, and I started this mission talking to home care agency, to people that understand the importance of preventing falls. And when I met them, they will say, oh my God, Daniel, where have you been? We were waiting for you our entire life. And then crickets. And then you don't hear from them. So you call them and say, hey, you said I wouldn't bother you, but you told me just a month ago that I am the person you were looking for. Like, yeah, I swear I give your information to the family, but it kind of stops. So I made another kind of digging to understand where does it stop. So yes, sometimes it stops with the kids and the family. And they're like, yeah, we'll find. We're not sure. Maybe he's going to go to assisted living. Maybe not. Maybe yes. They drag this piece of decision, unfortunately, but that's just what happens. But many of the cases, there are two things that we as human beings have. And the first thing is the ability to see the future. We do not have the ability to truly understand the future. They took a group of people, they connect their brain to an fMRI machine, and they said, okay, think about your life. And they measured the brain. And then they said, okay, think about your life in 2 years from now. And they measured the brain activity. And then they said, you see this stranger person? Think about his life. And they measured the brain activity. And what they found out, that when we think about ourselves in a year from now, in 2 years from now, our brain works exactly as if we're thinking about a total stranger. And the reality is that we just are not capable to truly understand the future. We were not built that way. We are built for the moment. Spiritually we're built for the moment, but also practically we're built for the moment. The second thing is the perceived age. We are all, with no exception to what age you are, probably starting from the age of 30, we perceive our age to be younger. We don't see ourselves. Yes, we look at the mirror. We might say, yeah, I'm not as young as I used to be, but you still don't feel in risk. And the best example is my own mother, as you know, lived with me and totally refused to put grab bars in the shower. It's only when I activated her guilt and I said, Mom, it's my business. You cannot. You know what will happen? You don't care about yourself. That's fine. What's going to happen with me? I cannot show my face and tell people, my mom fell because I didn't install the grab bars. That was the only effect that she worked with. But other than that, it was a struggle. And it's a struggle with every family that I meet, all the way from the professor of School of Gerontology that knows everything about falling. He can teach me what he forgot, I will never learn. And still, a big struggle. So That's just the reality. So if you're dealing with your loved ones or yourself and you're like falling into those criteria, just think about it, you know? You're absolutely okay. There's nothing unique about feeling younger. There's nothing unique about not fully understanding the future, but yet it's important to understand that. So again, the home modification can enhance your safely and allow you to maintain your independence for longest time. That's the message for the families that I provide, and that is the message that you need to understand with yourself. It's not about, oh my God, I feel this, my shower looks like a hospital. It's not. You are protecting yourself. You're being smart about it. We all know how people text and drive, and they know that it's dangerous, and they still do it while their kids are sitting in the back. Can you blame them to be bad parents? Probably not, but it's the same thing here. So think about what changes you can make at your home to feel more comfortable and more safe, and look at modification as an upgrade and an improvement and not as a chore. So any questions before I'm continuing with my multi-generational story? No? 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 Thank you for protecting yourself. Is there any question on the Zoom? Yeah, perfect. I can drink water. No. I hope they heard.
They did, yeah.
Did?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, so this is the aftermath of our multi-generational family. So going back to the story, I brought dad, I brought mom. We really did not have any separation. I was a caregiver to dad. But in the end of the day, when you look at everything and the aftermath of everything, with all the challenges and experiencing everything to the real kind of the other point of extreme, right? I plan to be in a full separation, and I find myself with no separation, with no, I can hear my dad, and I change his diapers, and I change his sheets on a daily basis, and was not an easy thing, but it was a very meaningful one. So when I looked at the aftermath, first of all, my dad, as you can see here, is smiling, is happy. He was always in good mood. He felt that he is with his people. He felt that he's around us. And even though he had no idea who I am, I was a total stranger for him, he still felt the love. And he knew that we are here for him. My mom, the happiest person ever. I mean, if there is some satisfaction, my mom is. And just to give you an example, this is a person in her 60s. She would tell me, you know, if I can die tomorrow and not wake up with no suffering, I'll sign it right now. And when we celebrate her 80th birthday, it's the first time I heard in my life, she said, I want another 10 years like that. So win on dad, win on mom. And here are my boys, you know, extremely compassionate kids that learn not just by daddy telling them respect the elder or respect people or take care of people in needs, but they saw it. They saw how we clean my dad. They saw how we take care of him, how we hug him when he's violent. And that was the best thing to do. And not just talking, but showing. And that's a big thing in my role as a father. And my wife and I, you know, we have two little beautiful boys, and we always consider to have another one. But my parents fill out this gap in terms of meaning. And we all have kids, and we all know that it is really hard thing to be a parent. And it's not a fun thing, it's not a great thing, but it's a very meaningful thing. And from that meaning comes the happiness and happy moments. And that's what my wife and I feel about my parents. My father passed away last year. But I can tell you that I am guilt-free and a happy person, and I felt that I did the right thing to the person that meant so much for me. So I looked at this and I'm like, listen, it's amazing. It's really, really great. I understand it's not for everybody. As they say, every family with 2 members is already dysfunctional family. So while understanding that, obviously a multi-generational will be dysfunctional and challenging, but there's so many pluses and there's so many advantages. And, every person that I would tell them, they're like, oh my God, it's amazing that you did it. And honestly, that's what made me feel really bad. Because what's wrong with people? Why do I get a compliment for doing something that I believe my parents would do for me? It is wrong. And from that point, I'm like, all right, I got to learn this subject. I want to understand the lay of the land. And I found that 22% of the families in the United States live in multi-generational households. So I'm not alone. And it's not just the Indians and the Chinese or the Middle Easterns or the Italians. It's a lot of people that are not just judging the situation from, oh, it's such a great thing to do. No, I am not Mother Teresa. I'm a very pragmatic person that sees the future of this family and his legacy in a very important way. And that is what brought me to write a book about multi-generation living, sharing the story that I just shared with you, but also come up with kind of a blueprint from how to design that house, what is important to do in terms of separation and how important it is, but also set up the rules. Because guess what? Mom will always gonna be mom, and she always gonna tell you what to do, and she will always gonna ask you where you're going, and that's where we need to go and say, in a compassionate way, I get it, but the rules has changed. It's not that you're not important anymore, absolutely yes, but when you just remember that it's important to create the dynamic. And the same thing on our hand. If this was my mom and she lives with me and I saw her go crazy about my dad, really being upset about his behavior, about how he was with Alzheimer, without really, with forgetting for moments that he's not okay. But I could not come and say, Mom, come on, there's a problem with that. No, I had to hug her. I had to tell her that I love her, and I had to tell her that she acts in the most natural way, and it's absolutely okay. And she has no reason to feel bad, because the moment that she saw me and the way she acted to my dad, I know she felt bad. But I gave her the space to be who she is without judging, and give her the space to feel home. And that's why she felt home. So with this, I start talking to some Alzheimer organization. I did some TEDx talks, and that is my life mission. Not to tell you about, oh, that's a great story and look how great it is, but saying, guys, we live in California. This is an extremely expensive place. From one side, we have so many issues of loneliness and falls and medications and seniors that are in despair. And on the other hand, we have also a young generation that is lonely, that is stuck to their screens, that doesn't understand what is family and what is really doing things for your loved ones. So in that constellation, I really realized that I need to speak about it, to make sure that people know that there is the option, not for everybody, but for few. And the few that are open to that the relationship with the kids is healthy, that something is working, and just consider that. And I will help you in that process, help you to age in place, help you not only to build that blueprint, but also make sure that you feel as if you're in assisted living by providing you and connecting you to all the services that are available that you don't even know you need. So just a little bit about multi-generational home. This is the characteristic. Multi-generational, thank you. Multi-generational is when it's family. You might hear the word intergenerational. It's usually when it's not family. It's just younger generation live with an older generational, and it's absolutely, a great solution for both generations. When you look at the historical perspective, we don't need to go so far. In reality, even if you're looking 2 generations back, this is how people live. And I'm not even talking about different cultures. I'm talking about here in America. So the change started after the Industrial Revolution, when, cities became the major hubs for making money, and then kind of broke the family structure, and people start to live separated from their extended family. But even my parents that were Holocaust survivor, and after the Holocaust, obviously there was no money, there was no future, there was nothing. All the best memories they had was this single one bedroom, living together with the cousin and the mother and the grandma, and that's where the magic happened. And of course, you'll tell it today to an American kid, they will rip their hair, I get it. But let's focus on the essence. The essence is that family matters, and family is the place where we're losing trust on the big systems around us. If it's the political trust, without getting to a political view, but we see the cuts that are coming, we see what's happening. If we as a family want to take control with our bare hands, nobody will take care of us. So historically, that's what happened. We used to be like that. We're no longer like that, but now it's time to look at this again. And on the global practices in Asian cultures, it is not even a common thing, it's part of the culture. When you talk to families that coming from those cultures, it's almost like you almost hit them in the belly if they need to understand that their parents is going to have to go to an assisted living. And guess what? Only 4% of the population are actually going to assisted living. And it's just going to get worse and worse. I'm even going to show you a little graph that just shows you that families probably will be the only solution. So I touched it a bit about the percentage of the families. We're talking about a lot of people. And just one interesting thing that, as we all know, during COVID, many families got together. So when you look at 22% of where we are today, obviously in COVID time, there was a peak of families who decided to live together. But what's interesting, that 5 out of 7 families decided to stick after COVID. So that means that with all the challenges, it is extremely, extremely smart way to live your life. So financially, number one, you take 2 families or more and you combine the budget and you share expenses and you share a mortgage, or you rent the different place that your kids were living when they moved to the parents, or vice versa. These are things where you taking the control in your life. You're no longer reactive and saying, oh my God, I'm heading to that age and it's going to be so expensive and how I'm going to do that. Be proactive. That's why I have those conversations with younger seniors and older seniors, because it's relevant to the sandwich generation. People like myself are like, oh my God, how will we buy a house? How are we going to make it happen? Well, guess what? If you're going to think about this direction, there is a big chance you will save your family legacy. Loneliness is equal to a pack of cigarettes a day. This is not me inventing that word. People in this industry nodding with their head because it's not the first time they heard that number. It's a big deal. And then guess what? It's not your parents alone. It's your kids as well, even yourself. So we all live in a very lonely time, and it's ridiculous because if your family is there next to you, that can ease that loneliness big time. Security, as I mentioned, from a financial security to just an emotional security. We're together in everything. We're having a lot of drama in our life, like every other family. Being together as a family, make it a bit easier. When my mother had to deal with my dad alone, once she had the entire support system of the family, things got better on her. So again, security is a big thing, meaningful. I mentioned it as a benefit for my wife and I. The meaning is a big thing, and a family bonding. We never, before my mom and my dad moved in, we never had dinner every night. It was like everybody grabbing what they can, and that's it. And today, every night, we have dinner, everybody sits on the table, and it's just, I know that I'm creating profound memories for my kids, profound feeling for my mother, and for me and my wife, it's just really fantastic. And operative advantage, creating flexibility. I can go, I don't need to be concerned, oh my God, I have a babysitter, I don't have a babysitter. My mom know that I can always take her to the doctor. She knows she's always going to be in good hands. My wife happened to be also a nurse, so on the medical side, she have a 24/7 support, and it just worked, and it's very, very magical. These are the two graphs that I just want to show you. The one on the top talks about the support between the ratio between, the how many young support people versus seniors. So on every senior in 1997, there were around 9 people that could have supported them. In 2050, or it's probably going to happen much earlier, it's going to be 3 to 1. And it's just getting worse and worse. So we cannot trust strangers or other people to support us, because home care, home health, assisted living community going to become unbearable. And house cost goes up, salaries are not growing as much, and the reality is family is everything. And please consider, if that is an option for you, to do multi-generational living. And that's it. Any questions?
If I may, I want to thank you so much for sharing your family's personal story. It's so deeply moving, what inspired you to do this work. I'm wondering if you can speak more to the benefits for the children who are in multi-generational living and how to have those hard conversations with them.
Hard conversations meaning?
About somebody moving in, or grandma or grandpa or great auntie acting differently than they're used to.
Yeah. So I think in my personal experience, it was easy because number one, they were young. So it was just natural to show grandma and grandma, grandpa and grandma. And they looked very strangely about my dad because he was not acting like what they know an adult should act. They actually felt that he is younger than them. So I didn't have to have those conversations. But if they were older, the conversation would be about meaning and actions versus talking. And the fact that family is everything, and the fact that this is what our values are. Our values are to stand with each other, as much as I expect both siblings to step with each other, as much as their mother and father are standing with each other through all the challenges that they have. So that will be the level of the conversation. In terms of the benefits, if they're older, they benefit from that as much as they're younger. So for younger kids, it's the hug, it's the ability to have another support system. But if they're older, again, it just taking care of things that are probably more profound and the values that you're able to get to them. Now, there's a lot of wisdom in senior, especially in the days of AI, that everything have an answer. But the wisdom that my mother, the stories that she can share, this is like stories from a different lifetime. And they appreciate that. They just go there and they ask their, hey, Safta, that's how they say their name. How were you when you were a kid? What did you do when I was 5 years old? And, we're kind of careful with sharing too much information because her childhood was really bad. And we still we don't want to scare them that life can be really bad. However, she shared a lot of that wisdom and they appreciate it much. And it's true through all generations, so I hope I answered your question. Yes. All right.
I have a question. Can you talk about how you figured out how to handle your father and your mother in those moments when she's with?
So firstly, how do I handle the multi-generational household situation was because prior to live with my parents, I lived with my in-laws. So yes, it was in smaller apartment in New York, in Chicago, and Durham, North Carolina, but the dynamic was the same. So even though we were in our little place and they were in their little place and they were helping us with the kids, we were able to sabotage the relationship because we did all the big mistakes, because the parents forgot that they're not the typical parents, and the kids forgot they're not the typical kids. And a lot of the things that I learned were coming from a place that what we have done wrong and what we did not keep, and where's the red lines that were supposed to be done, and where the communication had to be super compassionate. So by the time that I went to the situation with my parents, this is where I'm like, okay, this is the set of the rules. This is what we need to avoid. So that's the part of the family dynamic. The part of the construction, I'm coming from the world of construction, so I knew how to hire the right people, how to talk and ask the right questions, and making sure that this process is seamless, because that is the biggest challenge. Construction is hell. Whoever ever experienced modification, remodeling, this is really what you hear is not what you get, and there's two truths here. So I always kind of mitigate this whole expectation, protecting the family, but also explaining them what really to expect. And on the medical side, that was my wife. Because I'll never forget, there was a moment that my dad just decided to use the living room as his restroom. And it was shocking. It was right in the beginning, and I remember I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. Then my mom was hysterical. She's like, I know that we brought him here, but we need to give him away. Let's look into it. She got into a tantrum, and my wife, that she's a nurse, she looks at me, 2 slaps. She's like, dude, you changed diaper only 7 years ago. Not a big deal. Let me show you how to do that. And she literally guided me through the process of what to do, and later on how to change his clothes in an elegant way that won't scare him, and how to change his bed sheets, and how to move them around, and how to turn them around. So she gave me kind of the rules of thumbs, the things that are general, that you don't need to be a professional caregiver to just learn those things. And if you have your heart in the right place, then you overcome this challenge, because it's not easy to see your dad that way, and it's not easy to clean your dad, not at all. And yet, again, the meaning, the mission here is bigger than the moment. So I gave you a very profound answer to your question.
And yet it's about being involved. It's about your wife saying, look, change it back, do the practical thing, and you have this other voice in your sense, oh, how am I gonna handle this? But I guess you just keep coming back to the moment.
And to the mission, right? So it's the moment of like appreciate what you have, and you know, because what was the option? The option was to send him away to an assisted living or to keep him home. And my biggest fear in assisted living was, how will they treat him? You know, because my wife working with seniors in the hospital, and she would tell me how some of them are, you know, are attached with handcuffs to the bed because they have Alzheimer and they don't want him to wander. And that is horrible. So when I changed his clothes or took him to bath, that was a horrible process where he would fight me and he would curse me. And thankfully he cursed my wife, but he forgot his main languages. So he went to Russian where he was born and raised. So she could not understand his cursing. But he was cursing her, and she was giggling while she's washing his behind. And she's like, oh, what's he saying? Like, never mind. It's really not important. He's just mumbling gibberish. But no, he was cursing. So you think about it now, okay, there's a caregiver. He's not getting paid much. He's being cursed from the bottom of, like, there is a hatred there. So there's no appreciation. And they are in business, so they need to take a shower and dress him up in 10 minutes, whatever the time is. There's no way you can convince me that can happen in a compassionate way, even if it's 7 stars assisted living that charge $30,000 a month. There's no chance. And I was able to do it. And every moment like that was the moment, as you asked me, like, that was the grounded moment. Like, I'm doing the right thing. It's tough, but what would be the alternative? And it's the same thing my wife felt, and my mother from this side, which, again, she was different, right? She was okay to give him away, but we fought for it. And I'm happy to say that he passed away at home. No,